Everybody, and welcome back to the Family Meal Podcast. My name is Grace. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today we have a very special guest in the Family Podcast studio. We have Zayd. Give it up for Zayd. Zayd, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Zayd. I'm 21, like long walks on the beach. I'm a server as well. Mm-hmm. Not as long as Grace here, but I have prior experience in other customer service areas.
At a chain store that shall not be named.
A wonderful place.
A wonderful, organic, natural chain store that we will not mention by name.
It's Big Goods.
That doesn't sound like what it is at all. That sounds like Big Lots.
Big Eats.
No, even worse.
Big,
I thought you were going to say, like, half consumables.
There you go. That's a good one. Half consumables is a good one.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how you came to the restaurant industry? Obviously, it was through me, but a little bit about your experience, where you started.
Okay.
And just, again.
So, obviously, as Gracie said, I got into the restaurant industry through her. I started out at at another restaurant that shall not be named. I'm not used to this. I started as a busser and tried to work my way up to being a server there, but it didn't work out. So I eventually left and then started working at the restaurant that I am at now, with Gracie me. And Holly. And I started there as a food runner, and then recently, through this whole COVID stuff, I've been a server. So, it's something new to me, kinda, sorta. I've seen a lot of people do it, but so humble beginnings, that's
humble
for sure.
Beginnings, as it always is. Classic tale of the restaurant industry. We love a humble rags to riches story in the restaurant, except none of us ever get rich off of anything.
I don't know. You get I've seen this fat sacks of cash that you've had, and never close that.
That's what happens when you work 5 days a week and die and sell your soul.
Hey, next week I'm working every day.
Well, there you go. So then you'll be making fat sacks finally.
Hopefully.
So something I thought we would talk about today, which I thought would be beneficial to have you on, is, obviously a lot of the times on this podcast, I can only talk about my experience under COVID as a server and my stories with customers and things like that. COVID. And so I thought it would be beneficial to have somebody else on, but really I thought what would be great is that you, like myself, but I think you more so than me, you have one of those, like, overly, like, friendly and personable waiter kind of personalities. Like, you're kind of like some other people we work with who, like, I don't understand how you get to know these people so well in the 2 hours they're in your restaurant one time.
Well, being working at the big
food store,
the big food store that shall not be named, half consumables. I was there for 3 years, so you kind of get forced to put on a fake, quote unquote, facade in order to kind of get these people in and out,
Right, but even then, you can be a pleasant server and not be personable. Like, it's funny because you're one of those personalities that, like, people come to the restaurant and they're like, Zayd, my guy. Like, they know you, they remember you, they want you to be their
most
server.
Most of the time they don't know my name.
Sometimes they do.
They recognize my face.
Well, that's more than most of us can get.
That is true. It's kind of not hard to recognize somebody's face when you're one of two black people there.
Well, but you also have I mean, you know, you get the hair, the glasses. You got a distinct look. The earrings that are edgy. You know, you've got a sense of style. You know, you're one of the younger people who works there.
Sure, yes,
you know, so I think that's kind of more it. You have a distinct look, shall we say? It's certainly distinct among the rest of the cast of characters we have, but
but I do still think that I attribute a lot of that to working at Half Consumables.
That's for the name of this episode. It's Half Consumables.
Yeah. Because a lot of the time I would talk with the more nicer customers that were regulars there. And you know, bagging and ringing up their food. You kind of stuck there with the person. So if they're talking, you kind of just let them talk, or you chime in every once in a while. So you doing that for about 3 years. You kind of become second nature for you.
So how do you feel about, you know, the way that COVID has changed your experience with customers, both the way you think about the way you're talking to customers and how you're interacting with them, but also how they're interacting with you? You know, how different does it feel?
Honestly speaking, it's the same.
It's the same for you.
It's the same. I was working at Half Consumable when this whole COVID stuff kicked off. Mm-hmm. So the whole mask thing and everything, I'm used to it. The only thing is really just projecting your voice enough for people to hear you. But besides that, it's the exact same.
You don't have people like saying weird stuff to you now? Like I have people, I mean, besides
what do you
normal.
mean weird stuff?
I mean, like, I had the woman who came up, who I went up to, I was like, hey, how y'all doing? You know, my name's Grace, I'm taking care of you. And she was like, I'm gonna cry. And I was like, well, don't do that. Like, you don't have
I don't
those
think I've
people.
ran into any weirdos like that.
You don't have any sobbers?
Nah.
You haven't had a crier?
I've ran into my fair share of weirdos at Half Consumables, but
but not since COVID, just in general.
Since yeah, just in general. But in COVID, I had a certain crazy lady before. We won't talk about that.
We won't talk about it.
It's a long story.
It's okay. The trauma...
Very racy.
The trauma is unnecessary.
Even though she was black, too. It's weird.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the whole, you know, now we wear gloves all the time and our hygiene practices have completely changed. That doesn't hit different for you now, suddenly?
I think the biggest thing, I guess, if I had to pick something, would probably be the constant change of gloves. Mm-hmm. Like, after doing certain things, like clearing dishes off of somebody's table or something like that. I've gotten used to it now compared to when we first started doing it, but it was kind of odd changing the gloves every single time.
But don't you now feel like when you see other restaurants that don't wear gloves at all, it skeeves you out?
I don't go to any
I know, but
restaurants, but
the thought of it skeeves you out, doesn't
it?
it?
It's fucking gross, but
right? Because like knowing how much gross stuff I touch and then handle your food, and I don't even mean gross like normal gross, even though there's plenty of that kind of gross.
But even like I was just scratching my head just now, like the fact that I could do that and then go touch somebody's food
is gross enough normally. Forget under COVID where it's like, absolutely. Oh yeah, I just took a plate that somebody else slobbered all over and went and grabbed your food and brought it out.
Gross. It's really gross.
Yeah, I can't really go to restaurants anymore, especially if I look and I see they're not wearing gloves. I'm like, I can't go in there. I don't know why that's the thing I've latched on to, because I realized they could just not be changing their gloves the entire time.
No, yeah, the only place I feel comfortable eating at would be the restaurant that we work at.
Yeah. And I'm not going there on my days off.
Absolutely not. I work there enough to it's like
there enough.
It's the same thing with Half Consumables. I stopped working there, but
and now you don't go. You're like,
I rarely go there.
Right.
I do like the classic, like, old coworker comes back
antics
to say hello to everybody, but that's about it.
So what are your feelings on then, our impending doom of the winter, because, once it gets cold, either people are eating inside or people aren't going out. There's no, we'll eat outside. I mean, that's going to be over.
Well, recently, wasn't it approved that we're doing indoor dining?
I know, but just not even as far as our own restaurant, just restaurants in general.
Oh, you think just in general?
Or do you think people are going to be going inside now? We spike the cases.
I do think cases will increase because, and especially from restaurants that aren't the place that we work at, that they'll increase because the fact that they aren't showing the precautions that they're taking now. They're very piss poor. I think it will increase, and because of that, we might have places shut down. Hopefully it's not ours. Hopefully we're
well, it'll be statewide.
Yeah, it's a statewide thing, but I feel like a lot of places are just very irresponsible in regards to how they're handling.
Well, and I think a lot of times, sometimes it's the ignorance of just the one person in charge. If you don't see the benefit, or if you don't see the potential risk of your employees not wearing gloves, then you don't think it's that big of a deal that they're not wearing them. But you may not feel that way when you hear, this place shut down because their employees weren't wearing gloves.
Absolutely. I think the management at the restaurant plays a big part in how things are handled. If you have a bullheaded manager or owner, really,
or both,
it will ruin that restaurant. It's the issue that I had with the previous restaurant that I was working at before I started working with you, and it's kind of the reason why I left, is because it was mainly the owner, but he was just too egotistical to let anybody tell him the correct way to do it. It was his way or the highway,
right?
And especially, I'm still surprised that they're open.
I'm shocked that they're open.
I'm absolutely shocked that they're fucking open. But
but good for them, I guess.
Yeah, but people still go there. But you can't have somebody like that in a time like this.
No.
You cannot.
No, especially somebody who thinks they know everything, but they really don't.
Yeah.
There's already, most of us don't know anything about this. The people whose jobs it has been to know this stuff for years don't know what's going on.
Nobody knows.
How can you, who has never run a restaurant before, let alone stop the pandemic, know what the hell you're doing, right? Which is kind of like, that's kind of one of those things that I would hate to be too harsh on people for, but there's a part where it's like, you know what, at a certain point, it is your fault because you're willfully staying ignorant about it and thinking you don't need to learn. You don't really need to learn why all these precautions are in place.
Right.
So then it's your own fault. It's one thing if you don't know at the start. That's valid. Yep. Who would know? Like, you go into the restaurant industry, you never think you're going to be preparing for a pandemic. But it's another thing if once the pandemic happens, you choose not to learn from it.
Absolutely. Everybody has the chance to learn. It's the matter of, are you willing to?
And I think a lot of people didn't want to learn because they said, well, this is going to be over in a month.
Absolutely.
And now that we're on month 6 and no end in sight, now it's like, well, now you better learn.
Here's praying that 2021 comes and it miraculously
December 31st.
COVID's gone. There it goes.
COVID's gone.
Adios.
Now, there was something else I wanted to talk to you about, which is, do you think, because as I mentioned before, we're both very enthusiastic servers. I would say very personable.
I think you more than me.
I don't agree with that at all, actually. I think people like you better. I think you're more personal. I think people find me very annoying most of the time. But that's my question. Do you think we're annoying?
Annoying to who?
We irritating to like certain customers, Like,
I think
obviously there's people who like us and they love that kind of an experience,
right,
and they enjoy that from our restaurant in general, that they have very personable servers. But like, I also feel like there's a portion of the population that just like hates us.
Well, it's what I dealt with when I was working at Half Consumables. You're not. Every single customer that you ring up is not going to be that nice customer,
right?
And some will like you, some won't.
Mm-hmm.
Some will be complete assholes, and some won't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I take it as a case by case basis in regards to.
Well, you can't
restaurant.
take it personally.
No, yeah, I definitely don't take it personally. Yeah. But if somebody's a bitch, somebody's a bitch.
Well, there's always people who suck, but
I mean, when I'm able to read on the body language of a person a bit more easier, like I can tell when they don't really want to be bothered or stuff like that, and that's fine. I had something similar happen on Wednesday when I was working, and you can just tell. I did my usual thing, checking in on everybody. I only had 2 tables, but it wasn't that many people there anyway. And the one table was 6 people sitting there. Somebody that we went to school with.
Oh, I heard.
They were nice. They were cool. Checked in on them every once in a while. Let them be for the most part. But asked them how everything's going and so on and so forth. They were very nice about everything. The other table, the husband was very nice. Nice guy. The wife, every time I came over to ask to see if they needed refills or anything, or if, how the meal was going and everything, she gave me stink eye. So after the second or third time, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna leave them be for the most part. Let them talk, do whatever, and call it a day. And I think that's what you really have to do.
But does this happens to me all the time? I don't know if this happens to you. I'll get a read on a table like that. I'll be like, okay, they just want me to leave them alone. They're fine. They're good. They're eating. They're enjoying. And then they always at some point flag me down. They're like, yeah, I need another drink. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I left you alone for literally 5 minutes because you didn't want me bothering you. But they always seem perturbed that then they have to ask me for something. And I'm like, well, if I'm not checking in on you every 5 minutes, you might have to get, you might get my attention.
And, well, even then, it's
which I don't have a problem with them flagging, getting my attention.
Oh no, I have no problem
That's
with
totally
that
okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. It's just that they seem perturbed that they had to do that.
But that's a personal thing, right? It's the same thing as if you being in a grocery store and somebody having an issue with you not bagging their stuff, right? Which was a thing when I was working at Half Consumables, especially when COVID kicked off,
right? And
because
weren't bagging anybody's
at that place, people were so used to bringing their own bags because they get a 10-cent discount or whatever on their bill, but they bring their bags and they let the cashier bag for them, which is redundant. I still don't understand it. It's very pompous, honestly speaking. So a lot of the times when COVID kicked off, it was people would bring their bags and I'd have to tell them I can't bag for you. You're gonna have to bag for yourself. And most of the time you have people be cool with it, but other times it was somebody would have an attitude, and it's just what can I do?
Well, the thing is it's the difference there though to me is that I have a routine, and I don't know if you're like this. I have a routine when you sit down at one of my tables. I have a set script, pretty much, that I'm going to go through.
I can't have a script.
But, I don't mean a script. I just I have boxes I'm trying to tick,
No,
right?
I get what you mean.
I'm going to do a 2-minute check after your apps come out. I'm going to do a 2-minute check after your entrees come out. I'm going to offer you another drink before your entrees come out. I have things I'm going to try and do.
No. I absolutely get that.
When you start giving me this, we're fine kind of an attitude, I'm like, okay, then you know what? Forget my spiel. I'm just gonna leave them alone, and I'm gonna go as little as I have to. When I go to clear your place, I'm not even really gonna say anything or interrupt you. I'm just gonna clear them quietly. So, which is fine. I'm happy to provide someone that kind of service.
Absolutely.
But
it's just the attitude.
It's when
thing,
you're then mad at me, I'm not checking in on you enough, or I'm like, but you didn't want me to check in on you. So you'll have to get my attention when I come to the table and say, oh, could I have another drink? Of course you can, ma'am. I'm happy to get you another one. But don't be shocked that you'll just have to wait until the next time I come to quietly check in on you. Or sometimes I'll just do, you ever just do the walk past and you look at them and make quick eye contact and you're like, you good? Are you good? Can I help you with something? To see if they're kind of waiting on you to do, you don't do that?
No, not really. No. I'm, as you know, I'm a very go with the flow kind of guy.
You really are.
So I kind of just, as I said, go with the flow.
Pure chaos.
It's not chaos for me.
It feels chaotic to me.
Yeah, because you're very
buttoned down.
Yes, buttoned down.
That's why I wear a watch while I work. So I'm like, all right, it's been 5 minutes.
I wear a watch, but I don't really.
You never look at it. You go, is this over yet? And
I wear for aesthetic pleasures.
Purely aesthetic.
Sometimes I'll ask my table like, hey, another 5 minutes. Would you like to have your dinner? Something like that. But besides that, I'm not looking at my watch most of the time.
I'm looking at it constantly.
I will my routine, quote unquote routine. Go to the table, offer water, bottled sparkling tap, the whole spiel. And then offer drinks. Tell them the specials. Go from there. After I get the drinks, let them know if you have any questions about the menu, feel free to ask. And then, after I bring the drinks over, ask if they're ready to order, do that. And then, after that, once their appetizers come in, tell them to let them know, enjoy it. If I catch them in time, that it's just being dropped. And if I already know it just got dropped, I give them some time to everybody just like kind of start eating, go out there, see how they're doing, ask if they liked it. Most of the times because I recommend it.
Well, that's the other thing. So I don't know if you feel this way, but I always feel like when I go out to restaurants, I always want fun servers and I never get them. But I just want to note to those listening at home, if you get the sense that you have a fun server, your fun servers can do a lot for you that your not fun servers cannot do for you.
Absolutely.
I.e., I think it's funny that like we have a particular couple that comes into the restaurant a lot that is very well off, I shall say, and they're absolutely wonderful people. They, despite me being the chef's daughter, do not trust my food recommendations.
Absolutely.
Never ask me. Even if I give it, they're like, well, we'd rather speak to the manager and ask his opinion. I don't know why, because our manager knows nothing about food. He just has like a soundbite description of what he says about food.
Listen, if you're a fun person, you're a fun person.
And he still gives them a good recommendation. Like, not for nothing. He tells them what he likes,
right,
which they feel like closely aligns to what they like. But I just think it's hilarious. They refuse to trust my opinion on it. And I'm like, I mean, it's fair. His opinion isn't wrong. Everything's good. It's not a bad choice. But I always think that's funny. So, like, I always think sometimes you'll see, like, people don't get that, like, your server is kind of like, I think of it not like your advocate for the rest of the restaurant, but they're kind of like in a good restaurant, in a little bit of a higher up restaurant. Like, your server is your tour guide through this.
Absolutely.
So if you don't know what to get on the menu, you know what? If you have a good server, they'll probably steer you towards an actually good thing and probably push you away from the actually not so great things. Like, for example, if you ask your server, like, oh, how is the orecchiette? And they go, a lot of people like it. I tend to prefer, that means it's not good. That means it's not good. It means it's not good. It means it's not good. To heed that advice. You know what I mean? Like, or even if, you want something weird at the bar, you want a weird drink, your server is the only person who can make that happen for you. Because if a bartender says no, like, or if you ask a bartender, they're gonna be like, I'm not doing that. But if your server's like, oh, pushes it or knows the right bartender to ask, it'll happen. But otherwise, your server will be like, no. If you're a jerk, it's like, no, I can't do that for you. Sorry. Also, I don't know if many people know this, but we do risk our lives every time we go into the kitchen and say, chef, can we make a substitution? Like, we're putting our life in our hands.
Absolutely.
We are not going to advocate for that unless you're nice to us.
Yes. I have to really like you in order to sacrifice my life. And,
you have to be nice about it. And nice about it.
And my paycheck.
And my, and my job. My job.
My only job now.
Yeah, it truly, and our kitchen isn't even that bad.
No, it's
like the one we're at now.
Way lighthearted compared to the other
sometimes we get a flat, absolutely not. And that's the worst we get.
That's fine.
We still don't want to do it, but we will do it, if you ask for it. But there are plenty of kitchens that are like, who the, and you're not getting anything weird at all. They are gonna kill you before they substitute the sweet potatoes for the mashed potatoes.
Listen, all I'm saying is, if it's a paella, you can't ask
for it without rice.
For either without rice or take out a certain seafood that's in the paella and keep the rest in. It's a paella. Do you know what paella means? It's all together.
It's all mixed together.
So things like that, you know?
Somebody asked me if the paella was in a red sauce and if it was soupy. And I said, I don't think you know what a paella is, ma'am.
No.
But
it's not a gazpacho.
But I was made to ask the chef if the paella was in a red sauce, which I looked at our chef with the same amount of confusion that I had on my face, and she was like, it's a paella, Grace? I was like, I know what a paella is, but she doesn't, so just answer me the question. And she's like,
see,
no.
you're different, right?
I'm
personally,
built different.
Yeah, you're built different. I'm built different, honestly speaking. If I'm asked a question that I know outright is not feasibly possible,
I do answer
I'll say, I'll ask the chef.
And then
go
not
back
ask.
And come right back in there and say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that.
I've done that.
Because it's a common sense question that, you know, for whatever reason, this person doesn't have common sense to actually think about.
And it's not because we're trying to be jerks. Plenty of people, y'all got considerate. You got real concerns and real things we have to ask about.
Honestly speaking, I feel like I'm not being a jerk because I'm giving you the common courtesy to say,
not embarrassing you.
I'll go ask the chef.
Yeah, really. It's like, I'll ask the chef.
I'm not putting you on blast either by telling the chef,
right, and then you're not wasting the chef's time. So really, everybody wins.
Really, it's a confidential thing between you and me.
It's fine if you have questions like, are there pine nuts in this? You know,
that's a genuine question. I can understand that. That's fine.
If so, can there not be nuts in this?
Exactly.
That's a legitimate question.
That's a legit
We're
question.
not trying to make fun of that, okay?
Absolutely.
Well, you got allergies, you got concerns. We get that. That's fine, right?
It's a question like, does a paella have soup?
Yeah, it's a question of, is the paella soup? Is kind of the one that hurts.
Does paella have seafood in it?
Is the
I don't know.
Is the paella in a red sauce? What does that mean? I was like looking at her like, do I not know what a paella is? Because I'm pretty sure I do, but maybe I'm lost.
What's a question that I've gotten asked before?
Oh, yeah. You want to tell a horror story? We love telling horror stories here.
I don't know. Most of the time I don't think I've gotten asked like really dumb questions like anything pertaining to paella being soupy.
Food, yeah.
A lot of the time I just I know what the dish is, so I'll just kind of freeball it. Wine, though.
Oh, oof. I'm sorry. If you know a lot about wine,
I sure as hell don't.
But I'm sorry, as a customer, I'm saying, if you know a lot about wine, you're a wine person. And please be considerate that not all of your servers know about every single wine on the menu,
Absolutely.
nor can we tell you we can tell you sometimes this one's drier than this one's fruitier than this one, a general vague description of all of them. But if you're asking me, is this a full-bodied cab? I can't fucking tell you.
A guy like me, I don't drink wine. Not like that.
Not like that.
So, if you're asking me if this cab is full-bodied, where's this cab getting the body from? You know, it's
who's its trainer?
Where's it working out? All the gyms are closed. Well, actually, they're open now, for the most part.
Where's this cab working out? How'd it get a full body like that?
Why is he so swole?
Why is he so swole? I can't help
he,
you.
she, they.
I don't know, but why is he so swole?
But no, yeah. I don't really have any huge horror stories in regards to ask questions about food. It's really just a lot of the time. The attitude with customers, and even then I haven't had a absolutely horrendous customer yet.
What about the customers who sit at a particular table towards the front when we have a particular act, and that always do not eat pork, which is totally a thing and respectable.
I didn't even know that.
They don't eat pork, but they always order stuff that has pork in it and ask for it without the pork.
Boozy Bidell?
Like yeah. Well, they're friends.
No, yeah, they're friends with Boozy Bidell.
Yeah, they're friends. But they always order, like, the salad that has prosciutto. We have a salad without prosciutto, but they choose to order the one with prosciutto. They always order the pasta that has pancetta without the pancetta. It's like, why don't you just get something that doesn't have pork?
Yeah.
I mean, those things aren't that hard to take off, but
it doesn't bother me too much. They actually like me for the most part.
Which is shocking because they like nobody.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think I have a certain charm with the older folk.
It's true. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Ladies.
Any gilfs out there, call me.
Any gilfs out there, hit me up.
Let me know.
Ring my line.
No, yeah. It's
But that I never get why people do that. I'm always like, but why are you ordering, like, the people who are gluten-free and they want something that's not gluten-free, made gluten-free. It's like, but we have something gluten-free that you could have. Something that's easily gluten-free that
Honestly
you could
speaking, I'm glad I haven't had any, like, super, like, gluten-free, vegan-free, dairy-free.
There's no vegan-free. That's normal.
I know. Gluten-free, dairy-free, vegans.
And they're all of the above.
Yeah. The only time I had a table that was a vegan, he had called in beforehand, and we really appreciate
which is very
that.
polite, by the way. I think if
Absolutely.
you're like, I hate to say something like, oh, all vegans when they go to a non-vegan restaurant should call ahead, because that's rude, you know, like, that's unnecessary. Like, you're right,
it's a very nice gesture.
It's really nice though when you do it, even if you're just calling to say like, hey, I'm vegan, like, what can I have? Like,
even that helps still.
It's just good for us to know, like, oh, we have a vegan coming in, we have to make sure, you know, I set aside some of this so that they can have it,
which is what we ended up doing.
Right.
I had that table. They were lovely people.
And for the record, we can give you something way better because we can call stuff in, because we can save stuff from other things.
This man had this big ass salad, man.
I know, like, we can really gild the lily if we know you're coming, but if we don't know you're coming, it's pulling together what we have.
It was
you
great.
know,
He loved it.
Yeah.
His wife is, him and his wife had a great time. That night. Dessert and all. They had dessert drinks and had a grand old time.
You're just gonna have a way better experience.
Absolutely.
Something like, and that goes the same if you're gluten free, if you're dairy free, if you are.
I mean, listen, like, I feel like any of those things, right? If you approach it in a way, especially when you're going to a restaurant, if you approach it in a way that's very cordial, that's very nice and approachable, we can accommodate that.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we can accommodate that. It's when you kind of ham-fist it, and
you feel entitled.
Yeah, you feel entitled because you're coming in this place. It's just like, you're making us not like you already, and you have a dietary restriction. Are you serious? Well, Chef doesn't like you already.
She's already pissed. She's already questioning if she wants you to stay here today. Okay.
But if you're, like I said, if you're like the vegan that I had, and you do stuff like that, and even it doesn't have to be an all the time thing, but you set, it's about establishing a relationship.
Well, and the more you put in, the more you get out of it, right?
Absolutely.
If you call a restaurant in advance and you're like, hey, I saw on your website that you don't have any vegan options. I just wanted to know, like, I'm a vegan. I wanted to come in. What could you do?
Yeah.
You know, we'll do something great for you, right? Whereas if you just come in and you shock us, you know, don't be surprised that it feels like it's a lot of stuff slammed together because we didn't know you were going to be there. And as you can see on our menu, we don't have anything for vegans. Now, to be fair, we do craft our menu so that there is always something that we can quickly make vegan.
Absolutely, but still, it's not going to be as special as calling in ahead. It's not going to be as special as you think it's going to be, because most of the time when a lot of these people come, they're not the only person.
Or I think they're just disappointed. Like, they'll see the other person's and they'll be like, that looks really like a complete, well thought out plate, and mine isn't.
But the thing is, they're not putting thought into the fact that you're telling this stuff right then and there. Yeah. When everything has to go along, and there's not that many. The kitchen's small. It's usually 2-3 people in there. Yeah. Usually 2 most of the time. And doing something like that sets everything out of whack. Right.
Because now it's, now I gotta go out to the walk-in and get this. I gotta go to the basement and get something like this. I gotta go out here.
Because it forces the chef to think on the fly, figure out what they can and can't make. Right. And what they actually have. What they can't
use up because they need it for something else. Exactly. You know, it's just a huge amount of brain power suddenly.
It's different than these preset, pre-thought out,
and planned.
Planned dishes that are on these menus. Yeah. Because there was a lot of thought put in.
I think also sometimes, I don't know how you feel about this. So our restaurant is pretty small with a pretty selective and limited menu. Yeah. You know, by comparison.
Which I think is the best. It works out.
You know, it's great for us. It lets us do what we do. But I think a lot of people, they have this expectation that every restaurant. Chicken nuggets? Well, yeah, every restaurant is like a diner where we have everything under the sun. Like, no.
You got a burger?
Yeah, you got a steak? No. Can't you just make me a turkey sandwich? No. With what turkey, ma'am?
I think that's the issue that I had with the other restaurant, is that, like, the menu was changing constantly. It was fucking expensive.
And it was overpriced. Don't even say expensive.
It was overpriced. Pasta was what, $16?
$16 a bowl, and there was nothing in it. It was just pasta with a sauce.
Yeah, pasta
and it was
with
$16.
a sauce.
And it wasn't a lot of pasta.
Wasn't great sauce either.
I mean, it was fresh pasta sometimes, although not in the end.
Yeah, no.
At first, but then not later.
Absolutely not. When I was there, no.
No. Which was only a couple months after I left.
Right.
But they were limiting what pastas they were actually making fresh.
Right.
We're just ragging it. We're just ragging it.
Still, but I'm
Rag
saying, like,
them.
there was an eggplant parm that looked horrendous.
Their plating was not good.
Plating was not good.
A lot of the time. Steaks always came out wrong. Always came out wrong.
Yeah.
No matter what temperature you said you wanted, it always wasn't what you wanted. And not even like, oh, I ordered it medium and it came out medium rare. Like,
no,
I ordered it medium, it came out raw.
Yeah.
You know?
No. So it was just like, compared to that, it's the place that we're at now is leagues better.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that, like, I don't know if you felt this way, but the previous place we worked at, that was not about... I felt really... Looking back on it, I feel really duped by the way they talked to us about that restaurant. And you weren't there when we first opened. But it was
about being a family?
This was a family.
Absolutely.
This was a money grab.
Absolutely.
This was just... You wanted to make... You thought you would have this hugely successful restaurant if you poured $3 million into the building.
Absolutely.
And you know what? You didn't know shit about running a restaurant. And you didn't want to actually... put any culture into the place, put any family team aspects into the place, any leadership.
It says a lot when me, as a busser there, is helping out the bar, getting ice for the bar. Now, common sense, if you have to put ice in a bucket that belongs on the bar, you'd probably just bring the bucket itself downstairs to...
put ice in it and then
just put ice in it and bring it back up.
Right.
But, according to the owner, that's a stupid idea. Actually, it's a fucking stupid idea. I should have brought the specified ice bucket that's downstairs, filled it up with ice, brought it upstairs, emptied that into that bucket, and went back downstairs. Maybe get a second one if I needed to. It's stuff like that. It
was the owners locking up rags because bussers were stealing rags, as if bussers were stealing rags, which is ridiculous. We started hoarding them because they threw them out.
Yeah, they were getting thrown out. The fact that
Wait, let's clarify. The owners were throwing them out.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to wash them, and so they threw them out, and then we were hoarding them because we couldn't actually clean up anything or polish any glasses. So yeah, we started hoarding them, and then they got rid of all of them.
The fact that I myself had to go to Home Depot one day before I went to work and buy cleaning rags.
To do your job.
To do my job. And even those started to disappear as well.
Right.
It was just poorly
managed. What about the time I had the section that was by the hostess stand, and I had like 2 tables left for the night, and one of my tables I dropped the check, and I literally turned around after putting down the checkbook. Remember the days when we used to put down checkbooks? I put it down, I walked away, I was standing talking to the hostess stand, waiting for them to put their card, in the thing so I could get it and ring it out.
Right.
And my manager, the floor manager, comes up behind me, hands it to me, and she's like, "You really need to stop lollygagging here, Grace." And I'm like, I swear I put it down 30 seconds ago. And she was like, "No, it had been sitting there." I'm like, it literally couldn't have been sitting there more than 30 seconds. And she was threatening to I'm going to send you home. If you keep standing here talking to the hostess. I was like, What about the time they fired a girl in the middle of service in front of customers? Yeah. Screamed at her, but then the other manager said, "Oh no, don't leave," as if she wasn't going to get fired. And then they fired her anyway. They just made her work the rest of the shift.
It says a lot that a lot of people walked out.
Oh, everybody walked out. I was the only person that actually quit. That actually left and gave my 2 weeks notice I was leaving.
Me as well.
Yeah, you and me. But up until then, it was
and even then, I gave my 2 weeks notice to the manager that was there, who was
also leaving.
The conversations that I had probably that night when we went to the bar, that he was planning on leaving.
We drank heavily at that restaurant.
Oh, we did.
We had to drink heavily.
You definitely did, especially after work.
Yeah, but like also like there was a weird drinking culture at that restaurant, which like we're not really alcoholics ourselves. Not that we're not heavy drinkers.
Okay.
But like a lot of other people at that restaurant, like they got wasted,
slosh,
like a lot, and it was like, guys, like I understand because like this is stressful, but this do be stressful. Yeah. But like there was a toxic drinking culture also going on.
The Garmager was definitely a heavy drinker.
Oh yeah, but he is such a great guy.
I love him.
I love him.
He's great.
There
was a lot of good people there.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of the staff that was not the managerial staff was very wholesome, lovely people.
Yeah.
But the managers and the owners were god awful, and the chef was very hard to work with.
Absolutely.
Despite being a very acclaimed chef, which is very hard to work with.
Absolutely.
In that restaurant, I don't know what he's like in his other places, but I know in that restaurant it was very stressful.
Based off of how he was in that restaurant, I don't want to go into his restaurant.
But when we had the other people who work at his other restaurant, they came. You weren't there the night they came to the restaurant we worked at. Mm-hmm. This is so confusing when you're not saying names. I'm realizing like how it's for the other people from the other. But they like. They've worked there, some of them have worked there 12, 15, 20 years. I mean, they're like loyal people. They like, this is their job for life.
Oh, no, yeah, I believe it.
So I don't know if just their personalities mesh well with him, and that's
probably,
fine.
That's probably the case.
Which is valid. I mean, listen, not everybody can work in our restaurant. Not everybody can work in every restaurant.
Absolutely.
Some chefs and some managers and some owners you gel better with.
Funny enough, the place that...
You know why we didn't work in that place?
Why?
Because we were people who liked working in a team with other people. We were not in it just to make as much money as possible. It was hyper competitive, which we were not. Like we were there to make money, but we weren't there to steal money from other people.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we were trying to build a camaraderie. We thought that was an important value, and they very much did not want you to be comrades with your staff. They did not want you in it together.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, it's funny that the place that pushed the idea that this is a big family wasn't.
Never gave family meal.
Exactly.
And made you clock out to go leave. So you had to come, set up, and then clock out and go eat before the shift started.
Well, by the time I started working, they didn't do that.
Yeah, they stopped doing that. But they did that for a while.
It's just ironic that they pushed that idea about it being a family, and it's not.
And instead they just abused all of us.
The restaurant that we're at now doesn't have any like...
We don't push that
big motto or push anything, but we just
understand it. That's the culture.
We just have a great time with each other. We know that
we work hard. We work together.
If you work together, it's all
better off.
Yeah, we're better off.
Yeah.
So if you can help somebody out anywhere, it's beneficial.
And we really do try to help each other out. Like we really do try to help each other out. You know, like I'll have bartenders that will either get somebody to run my drinks for me, or I'll often be looking out for a server I'm tag teamed with. Like, do you need anything?
We constantly have the hostesses.
Hostesses, are always helping us out with stuff. God knows Donovan does everything.
Running food.
He did dishes the other night. He did everything. He does the bathroom.
Next time he's gonna be a Garmager.
He's our bouncer.
He's just doing everything.
He does everything.
Entertainment next, probably.
Oh yeah, we get up there. You can start tap dancing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a crazy business that we
Absolutely.
do be in.
Absolutely.
Don't we?
Absolutely.
Well, Zayd, that's all the time we have for today.
Oh. Would you look at the time?
Would you look at the time? We have to go to work.
Okay. Oh damn.
Well, you'll just have to come back on another topical episode of the Family Meal Podcast.
I can do that again.
You could do that. You could make time in your busy schedule for little old me and my little old podcast.
Might have classes. Who knows?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have my people call you people.
Yeah.
We can work it out.
We can do something like that.
Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to the Family Meal Podcast. As always, please be kind to your service staff, both in restaurants and in half consumable type big food retailers.
Yes.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.